I get it now. I get it. I understand why this book series is such a big hype. Now I get it. We are here today. My name's Tamara, by the way, and we're here today to review the next book in the Throne of Glass series, which is HEIR. This book is a 5 out of 5. Yes, and not only is it a 5 out of 5, it has reignited my obsession qualities when I read. And that's my poor husband, honestly, because when I read Zodiac Academy, it hit a point where I got super obsessed, and then I like flew through the remaining books because I was so in it. It was like all I ate and breathed. This has now done it. This one, I literally am going to the store today to get all the remaining books, and we're flying through the rest because it has hooked me. It has hooked me. I was saying before when I was reading Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, loved those books. I was super into just like the worlds, but I gave them a 4 to 5 because I was waiting. I was waiting for the hook to get me, and this one finally did it. This one finally did it. Wow. The amount that they squeezed into this book in terms of story, character, new characters, it was crazy. Like revelations. I'm like, how can you fit all this in this book and then also just make it make so much sense? Like it wasn't sped up, it wasn't rushed. It was beautifully done. It was beautifully done. So we're going to talk about it. For complete transparency, this is a spoiler talk. So if you don't want to be spoiled, step aside, come back when you've read the book. If you don't care, then let's get into it because there is a lot to unravel in this one book. I honestly think that the easiest thing for me to do is just do like a walkthrough of characters as like our main point and then the ending, because in true nature, the ending had me going like crazy by the end of this book. But all right, let's hop into Aelin. Aelin being our main female lead. We knew at the end of Crown of Midnight she was heading somewhere that actually has magic. So what I suspected from this book was that, yes, we're going to learn a lot more about her fae side. We're going to learn more about her magic. She's probably going to train and work on her magic because it's been suppressed for 10 years. Did I expect, one, that her power was going to, she was going to have so much power? No. 2, that this book not only had her facing that side, but it was like such a deep dive to all of her baggage, all of her like traumas, and I didn't expect her character to fully face everything and then choose who she wants to be for the remainder of this book series. Like the trajectory is going to be, it's crazy. Like she had a full character realization moment in this book, and I was like, did not expect it. Also, just in general, like the Fae, like the world building, you got so much about the Fae in this. Like you got a ton of context on the bloodlines of Maeve, of like so many political moving pieces, deception, secrets that happened 10 years ago. But when it comes to Aelin, I feel like I had this inkling in my brain that because of the suppression of the magic for 10 years ago, that was why she was struggling to get footing of her magic in her fae form. But then it really like kind of alluded to the fact that when she was even younger, she could never really control it. So like it really dived into that. And then also how her traumas have been now suppressing her magic. It wasn't just that it was suppressed because of what happened 10 years ago, but her traumas have been keeping it down and unstable and imbalanced. And so acknowledging and working through the entire book to face all of those and then coming out completely having control of her magic, embracing her true name, which is Aelin, what she is, what she stands for. It was a beautiful character development. I was at the edge of my seat the whole time, and you know how much I love her. Like I've loved her since book 1. I thought this character can't do any wrong, but I didn't expect her to be as great as she is. And now I'm just questioning the remaining of the books, because then I'm like, she's already like what I thought was she was going to tick away at in terms of developing her character kind of all happened in this book. So now I'm wondering for the following books, I'm like, she can't get any better. Like, come on. Like, besides like maybe her actions, like, well, all these vows she's made, like all of her actions will speak louder than words now as she gets back to them. And Darlin, I don't know how to pronounce some of these worlds, I'm sorry, but to the main kingdom where Dorian and everyone is. We'll see what she does. But okay, moving on to, so Rowan. So we're going to just touch on him because I knew who Rowan, like I've heard of this Rowan, okay? I've seen some fan art. I know what he may or may not end up being for her. And as soon as I saw his name, I did not expect him to come in as early in this book though. Like he came in the first couple chapters and I literally was like, whoa, let me buckle up, because this romance, the slow burn, that this is where we're starting. And I think this will destroy me down the line about how much I'm going to obsess over these two. And I was already obsessing just in general because they kind of had an enemies to lovers demeanor a little bit. Not that he's her enemy, but like their resentment to each other and how mean he is to her as he's training her. He's also 100% Fae. He works for Maeve, who's the kind of the leader of that Fae section that's over on the world side that she's on. And he has to train her to kind of be at a certain quality so she can go and get the answer she needs from Maeve. But during this whole sequence, he like really pushes her to like dig deep and like embrace that she should be less selfish, because her whole character up until this point, she's just like, I want to be free. I want to be like, let me be selfish. And the only people that she's cared about besides herself has been the immediate people she's met, not the bigger people, like the people that she's never met yet. She keeps talking about she's going to free the slaves because a lot of them she had met when she was in Andover, and just knows from like her vow to Nemea that she needs to do that at least. But he made her see and push in such a dark way to face that she's so much more than that, and that she has such a bigger purpose. And everyone that has died thus far for this character has tried to make her see that, but they just can't get through. And so Rowan was great. He was exactly what she kind of needed to help push through that. But then also there was a scene, because she works in the kitchen at one point with like an older man and a younger guy. The older man at one point, after Rowan had like really dug deep and like said some horrible things to Aelin, he had a little bit of a monologue trying to get him to acknowledge, like, can you not see how broken she is? And he didn't fully see it. Like, he just thought she was a whiny princess who's making excuses. But this old man, like that whole sequence with Rowan was the kind of a turn in the tide a little bit for him as to how he approaches Aelin going forward, being Rowan. And that was a great scene. I really loved reading that. But yeah, so then they're like, there's slow burn tension. I'm here for it. I'm buckling in. So we can move on from Rowan because he's awesome and I love him. But also Aelin really idolizes Rowan throughout most of this. I feel like he's the warrior that she wants to be, like obviously in a female equivalent, but like everything he stands for, how great he is at everything. Like she just like idolized his strength. And so did I. But moving on to the people we do know, which is Dorian and Chaol. Dorian, for me, honestly, I'm so sad for him. I feel like I've been sad for him this whole time. All I want is for him to be happy. When I say sad, I don't mean like he's pitiful. I just mean that there was a flashback when they were kids and they had met, how she saw his loneliness even when he was a child and said, hey, do you want to be my friend? And he's like, no, it's okay. I have one singular friend, which is Chaol. And then he, like, as an adult, still reflects that same loneliness. And it's just so sad. Like, to me, it's just so sad because I'm like, oh, this man, just make him be happy. But his character development in this one was crazy, too, because he not only acknowledges the deception, the truth, like everything around him, that's like what he's raised not to really believe in, but he embraces the change. And he's like, you know what? I am magic. This is who I am. So let me embrace it. Let me embrace the change Aelin's going to bring, and we can change this world together when she gets back, which is great because Chaol isn't having the same kind of like instant, I don't know, like realization. And so Dorian was the one who was telling Chaol in this really great monologue about like, you've only chosen to like certain parts of Aelin, but I've liked it all. Like I embraced her for who she was, of everything, knowing everything. And I know what my stance is when she gets back. I hope we're aligned and you're going to get there too. And it's one of those things that for Dorian to be the one to say that, I was like, this is so great for him. Like it's just such a strong moment. I blew my mind. And then leading into Chaol, Chaol had a very interesting storyline in this one because he was really like, his whole theme was being on the fence as to which side he has to choose, realizing he has to choose a side. So everything he's grown up knowing, like the people who he like instantly hated just out of like perception. Same thing with Aelin when he first met her. He like instantly hated her. And Aiden, he's not a fan of Aiden, also coming from the same area that she did. And just like the trust, the vows, everything he's made is like shackling him to think one way, but now he's forced to open his mind. And it's almost like he's been raised to be a certain kind of way, not thinking, like he's been made. It's the same thing like Manon. We learned about Manon. She's been made to be like this cold, immune person. And they had a very interesting parallel, I think. So we'll talk about Manon in a second. But yeah, so at the very end, he finally makes his choice. And throughout most of this book, he's like dabbling with opening his mind and embracing what he wants to choose instead of what he's been vowed to do. Like he's making his own mind. And him and Aiden have a back and forth about this too. And I just thought it was great for Cale to hear it. He had to hear it from Aiden. He had to hear it from Dorian. And then he finally was like, no, this is what I'm going to do. So it was great character development. And then going into our two newest characters, Aiden and Manon. So Aiden, for me, I did not expect to love this man as much as I did. He is Aylin's childhood friend, the only friend she had growing up, because everyone kind of feared Aylin. And so they grew up together. They're from the same area. He made out to be like some badass warrior as he grew up, and he's deceiving the king, working for the king, but actually duping him the same way Aylin has been. And Cale notices that right away, like there's similarities, and I just love it because Aiden is so like excited to see Aylin again. The fact that she's alive, his undying loyalty, it kind of teases maybe there could be some romance on his end, but I don't quite know yet. Interested in seeing their reactions when they reunite. And then Aylin was thinking about Aiden too, but also just in the way that like, what would he think of me? Like what I've become? Like he won't understand like what I've done because he's going to think it's for the king, not realizing that he's also working for the king, but duping the king. So I'm so excited. But at the end of this, we'll get there for the end, but I'm really excited about him. And then Manon was one of those characters that she had to ease in slow burn for me, because I literally at one point was reading this being like, why should I care about this girl? Why are we spending so much time on this plot point? And I will admit that the witches and that whole like expansion of the world, I didn't know how it was going to play out in the long run, because I'm like, why are we spending so much time on this? Clearly, it's going to mean something. It has to mean something. But I feel like I was a little impatient with it. I appreciated it. I did. But I only really started appreciating it when Manon bonded with a wyvern that was like not the biggest, not the strongest. And it was very much like a warrior's heart. And she saw that, you know, imperfection is perfect to her. And from a character who doesn't have a soul, she doesn't have a heart. Like they make her so like a weapon. And then she this wyvern cracks that exterior and pretty much is exactly what she needs to open her mind, similar to Cale in a way. That's why I just thought they were really interesting, the parallels for these two. But also at the end, there's a moment where she is supposed to behead like one of their arch nemesis, but she doesn't know this person, but she just knows based on what they are, arch nemesis. She's been raised to be like that. And right before this character dies, they're literally like, you know what? When will you realize that you were made to be a weapon? Like you have your own choice, but everything you grew up knowing is what catered to make you so ruthless and be the monster, but you don't have to be a monster. And that's a really interesting point for me, for Manon. That's why I was like, okay, she's starting to realize. And the wyvern kind of cracked into that exterior, and then this death, I feel like opened her realization, which I'm really interested in everything that girl has to do with now going on to the future. And then lastly, the ending. Okay, the ending, guys. From the moment that Aylin saves the demi-fae with with Rowan and his friends, that whole sequence of her facing her trauma continuously with those memories, burning out completely, being at the pit of her darkness, to realize that the people that she thought put her in that darkness, that she had failed, are the reason she gets back up. Like they're the ones saying, get up. Sam, her parents, her friend, her childhood self that she felt like she betrayed, the lady that saved her as a kid, like all of these people are the reason she gets back up and realizes that she needs to like stand for the people she doesn't know yet, but they're her people regardless. And that's what brings her full force. And I loved it. That was such a great sequence. And then Rowan was like, you know, gawking about all of this. And I was like, my heart. Plus he helped her. They shared magic. It was so great. And then from there, she goes to speak with Maeve, with Rowan. And not only does she like give it to this Maeve lady, like Maeve is meant to be pretty intimidating, but she gave it to her in the sense that like all of these lies, deception, like she figured it all out and dished it right out to her. And it was so great. She was so confident and powerful in this whole monologue. And then plus she ends up freeing Rowan. And so then Rowan makes a blood oath to her, because I feel like that's just what his character does. But it was so great. Such a satisfying sequence, honestly. And then we're flashing back to the castle where Dorian has a love interest at one given point. and Aiden, they were all there, and the king kind of confronted them. They had a plan they were going to do, but the king not caught onto the plan, but did catch on to part of it. So they were all kind of in front of the king. And Aiden, this is where my emotions got the best of me, and I realized how great this book is as well, that they could get a new character to crawl into my heart as much as Aiden did. When Aiden at one point was going to take in all of the lies, like he was going to confess that he was the traitor, so to save everyone else, and he did that. But then in that moment, I truly thought he was going to die. Like I thought they were going to just kill him right then and there, and he would never have gotten a chance to see Aelin. And that whole thing broke my heart, and I literally started to cry as I'm reading it, hoping that's not what happens. It's not what happens. He just goes to prison. But in that moment, I just didn't know. And I was like, oh my God, Aiden's going to die. He can't die. Like, I love him so much, and I shouldn't have to love him so much. I just met him. But he was so good. It was so, so good. And then Cale made his stance. He picked a side finally in that sequence. But then Dorian, so my poor Dorian, he fully embraced his magic against his dad. He already had picked a side, but now he was standing up. But then to help Cale escape, he essentially fights off his dad, and in this process the dad puts a collar on him. And throughout this book we've realized that the collars are demi-fae that are being tested on to become monsters, and it broke my heart as to how that ended. My poor Dorian, honestly, I'm like, oh. And it gave me PTSD from Zodiac Academy, because the endings in Zodiac Academy messed with my emotions. But this is how I knew that I was in it. Like, this is how I knew I was hooked, is how much I cared about what happened now to Dorian and Aiden. At least Aiden's alive, but still, it was like one of those things where I was just mind blown. I was mind blown. Cale made it out to tell Aelin. That's a plus, I guess. And she's on her way back now. So I'm excited as to where this is going to go. But this book was so good. Like, how do they fit so much awesomeness into one book? I don't freaking know. I'm so excited for what comes next. Bye for now, guys.